is step back and like what's the overarching goal of this, and let's do that. But yeah, don't be too creepy, I guess is kind of a good one. Like you said, like.
Welcome to the Active Marketer Podcast, where we talk about how to design, automate, and scale your business to the next level using sales and marketing automation. You can find out all the tips, tactics, and techniques you need to get more customers and sell more stuff over at theactivemarketer.com. Now, here's your host, Barry Moore.
Hello, fellow automator, and welcome back to episode 27 of the Active Marketer Podcast. I'm your host, Barry Moore, and this week is a bit of a treat for me and hopefully a bit of a treat for you as well. And the reason for that is, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm a big fan of ClickFunnels. It's a fantastic software tool for building out sales funnels quickly and easily, ties everything together. It used to be a real nightmare to create a kind of cohesive sales funnel from beginning to end that ties in with all the other systems it needs to tie into, like your payment gateways and your autoresponders. ClickFunnels is a great tool for that. So this week on the episode, we've got ClickFunnels founder Russell Brunson on to talk a little bit about the product. But more than that, I know from meeting Russell that there's lots of new features coming from behind the scenes that haven't been released yet. So I wanted to get him on the show to talk a little bit about his journey, why he created ClickFunnels in the first place, but also give you guys a sneak preview at some of the features that are going to be coming inside ClickFunnels that haven't even been announced to the general public yet. So that's going to be pretty cool. And a lot of those are around marketing automation built right into the platform, which is going to be super cool. But before we do that, it's back to the shameless social proof segment. Got a couple of iTunes reviews to read out. One's from Chris in the United States. He says, meaty, actionable advice. Just found this podcast about 2 weeks ago and can't stop listening. I love how the episodes aren't too long, and Barry's approach to automation and advice is always right on point. Thanks, Barry, for sharing your pro automation tactics with us. Well, thank you very much for listening, Chris, and everybody else who's listening. I really appreciate it. And I really love it when people take the time to go to iTunes or Stitcher and leave us a review. It really it gives me that little bit of oomph to keep the show going and make sure that the shows are really relevant and provide some fantastic tips for you guys. So thanks very much, Chris. If you want to head over to iTunes and leave us a review, I'll be happy to read it out on a future show. But for now, let's jump into this week's episode with Russell Brunson. All right, I would like to welcome to the show Russell Brunson. Russell, welcome.
Thanks for having me, man.
Now, we're going to start with the tough question right off the bat, and the burning question that's been on my mind for days is, who won the firework war?
Oh, well, I don't think anyone can actually win a firework war. No, it was, I definitely got the most injuries this time around. I got a burnt neck, finger, forearm, and bicep. So I lost as far as injuries, but we won the war. They ended up running out of fireworks before we did. And so they came out with like flags, like trying to like ask to quit. And then we just lit up. So we just laid into them with a bunch of fireworks while they were trying to surrender. So it was awesome.
No surrender. Nobody ended up in the hospital with a broken collarbone this time or anything?
Nope. We survived. Everyone survived. So it was awesome. A great time. We actually recorded the whole thing. So we should have a video proof of the experience here in the next week or so. It'll be awesome.
All right. Sounds good. I want to get you on the show to talk about ClickFunnels. I'm a big fan of ClickFunnels. And I love the product. Mostly because it ties together so many other things that you had to kind of do manually, and you could do it so quick and get something up and running in no time. So I want to talk about that. But before we get into that, I think there's also another interesting element to your story that can kind of lead into funnels a little bit is, I'm a bit familiar with it, but maybe for some of the listeners who aren't, you kind of, you got some success there in the early days and really kind of expanded your team to, I think it was up to kind of, over 100 people at one point. Is that right?
Yeah, we did, unfortunately.
Well, I think that's why I want to point that out is I think that's a common trap for people. They see some success and they think, well, the next thing to do is just scale up everything. And I know as part of your story, maybe you want to talk about how you went from, 100 plus employees back down and contracted back down, but still doing the same, if not more revenue with fewer resources than you did with all those giant call centers.
Yeah, we grew up to over 100, and then out of necessity, we had to shrink back down. Not something I chose, but something I'm very grateful for now. And then, and I think, I had a friend who told me that he would never work with an entrepreneur who hasn't cycled at least once. I was like, what does that mean? And he said it means you build up a company and then you crashed it. And he said he called that cycling instead of failing. I'm like, that sounds good. I'm going to call it cycling now too. Because like the second time you think a lot more through strategically what you're going to do to not fall into the same traps you did the first time. First time you think you're invincible and unstoppable, and you make a lot of choices based on, looking through that lens, which is not always good. Sometimes it's good, not always good though. And so the second time, we shrunk down to a small team of about 7 or 8 people. And we had, a year and a half, 2 years when we're kind of in transition, still trying to figure out like, what are we about? What are we doing? What are our goals? Like, what value do we want to bring to this marketplace and this world? And about the time I read a book called Rework, which is still one of my top 10 best business, probably top 2 best business books of all time. But in that book, like every chapter I'd read, and I was like, oh crap, I would have, if I would have listened to this ahead of time, I wouldn't have made that mistake and this mistake. And some of the ones that were really big for me, one of them it talked about was like, only hire when it hurts. Where most of the entrepreneurs are like, oh, like I need an assistant and I need this and I need that. Like we try to hire people because it sounds cool and it makes us look awesome. Yeah. But in the book, it's like, don't hire people just to hire people. Like only hire when there's pain. And that became a rule for us. Like we don't hire people unless there's a pain that we need solved. Yeah. And then we find someone to help replace that pain, which is a big one. The other one that was kind of cool is I think as entrepreneurs, we think that like we have to grow. And like everything's all about like this whole growth thing. And so we get obsessed with that. And the book, it kind of gave me permission. Like he talked about like, what's wrong with just having a company that's doing well? Like, why do you always have to be growing all the time? And I was like, you know what? Like I'm always stressing out about this stuff, which I don't need to be. And so it kind of gave me permission to take my foot off the gas, which gave me time to like think and be more strategic in what we were doing. And by doing that, like you mentioned, like we now are making about twice what we were doing with 100 employees. And between .com Secrets and ClickFunnels and everything else we're doing, we have about 30 employees. And so we're doing it with less than a third of the staff. We're doing more than twice the revenue now. And so it's just a way better spot to be. But it took being very careful when we hire and taking the foot off the gas to be able to become more strategic and think through things and make. In fact, I heard Tim Ferriss say this the best way. He said that he spends most of his day like looking at the chess piece, trying to figure out which chess piece he needs to move that'll make all other things obsolete, as opposed to trying to do every single thing possible. And I was like, that's really smart. Like we need to be more like that and be more strategic. So that was kind of the crash and then the rebuild. But I hope everyone, if you haven't cycled once, you probably will, and just be okay with that and just be more smart the second time through.
Yeah, there's a big lesson I took from Dan Norris's book, The 7-Day Startup. It's, don't waste time, money, and effort solving problems you don't have yet, which is kind of a similar sort of thing. But the reason I brought that up is it's a great segue into the fact that with the right product and with the right funnel, you can be making tons more cash without tons more resources, which kind of leads us into ClickFunnels. So what's the elevator pitch for ClickFunnels for people who aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, so ClickFunnels is software we created because we were sick and tired of. It used to take us about 6 full-time people to build one sales funnel and take them on average 6 to 8 weeks to do. And now we can do the exact same process. I can build the same sales funnel at higher quality in about an hour to an hour and a half that used to do with take all these people. And we can do it with just ClickFunnels instead of having to glue together WordPress and optimized press and lead pages and shopping cart and autorespond, all these million things you had to glue together. You can do it all now in one spot.
So is that really just the impetus that you're just scratching your own itch, or was it I'm going to build this product and go out and dominate the market because you saw a gap in the market?
It was a combination of both. It definitely was initially a frustration out of our side. I mean, look at my track record. Over the 12 years I've been doing this, we've launched tons of funnels. We do 3 or 4 at the time. It's 3 or 4 a year, which it took us a quarter to get a funnel up and live and working and functioning and hopefully making money. And that just didn't seem right. It didn't seem like it should be that hard, Most of the funnels were 95% the same. We just had to tweak little things here and there, but it always took so long to do. And so that was part of it is in fact, my tech guys, their whole goal when they did is like, if we can make this so simple that even Russell can use it, then we've done our job right, which is like the greatest compliment to me ever, right? Yeah. And so that was the first part. But then, obviously I'm an entrepreneur and I thought, if we can execute this and make it where we'll actually use it for everything, I think we can get everybody else to use it as well. Because I'm in the same, I know the pains of our marketplace. I know the frustrations because I live through it every single day. And I was like, if we can solve this problem for ourselves, and do it in a really good way that's not, I mean, people have been trying to solve this problem since I've been online for 10 years, 12 years. If we can do it right, we will make more money than we will ever dream of, we ever could have dreamt of. And so that was kind of the goal, make it so that we can use it. And if we do that, I think everyone else will adopt it too. And luckily for us, they have. It's been amazing.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic product. Everybody talks about, we've got this one-step formula. It's just drag and drop and click, but it really is a fantastic product. So is that your first foray into software products?
No, I've done a lot of. So in fact, my first product was a software product. It was a little software product called Zip Brander that I'd hired this guy named Cyprian in Romania to build for me. He charged me $20, and that was my first software product. And back then, I made probably 5 or 6 of these little like desktop software products, but there was a lot of headaches with that. Like when I got started, nobody was using Mac, so it was easy. Everyone just did PC, so you developed for the PC, right? But then every time you had an update, you had to like go back to all your customers and tell them to re-download the new update, and most people never would. And then they would use it and it would be broken because they didn't have the new update. And it was all these like headaches. And then Mac started becoming more and more popular, and everyone wanted Macs, and Mac developers were like twice as much money, and it was just like so. Eventually I just gave up on software altogether. And then, then the whole like move towards software as a service started coming out, and people were doing stuff, and we just never had a good idea like to do it. Like I had some amazing developers and an amazing team, but we just never had like the big thing we wanted to focus on, So like we made little one-off things for ourselves, or for clients, or for like upsells, part of a product we were selling. But it wasn't until like we came up with the idea for ClickFunnels that it was like, okay, let's put all of our cash and time and energy and resources into this and make it amazing. So it's the real. I mean, it's the first like software business where we've got a whole development team now. We've got it's like a legit company. It's kind of fun.
And what do you think was the bigger challenge? The actual getting the software together and getting it ready, or the marketing for it and getting people to sign up and become customers?
Well, my side, programming was really easy because I didn't do it. My partners might say something, right? Yeah. I mean, they've worked their butts off, as you can tell. I mean, they've done an amazing job. On my side, the marketing was way harder than I thought it was going to be. We did a big product launch initially, and it flopped. It was like, I couldn't believe how bad it did. We had all these projections, like I thought we'd get 10,000 members the first 7 days. Like I honestly thought like we did a free trial. I'm like, there's no way we won't. And we did this launch, and it tanked, and I couldn't figure out why. I'm like, why in the world is nobody buying this? And I tried 3 or 4 or 5 different variations and just couldn't get people to see the vision of it. I couldn't figure out why. I'm like, why are these guys not buying? Like, do you not understand what we're giving you? Like, this is the greatest gift that I could possibly give someone is this tool. And it was funny. Mike Filsame had invited me to come speak at one of his events. He's like, I need you to come sell ClickFunnels. I'm like, no one's buying ClickFunnels, man. We're trying. But, it was a free trial at the time. That's all we sold it through. And he's like, well, you got to figure out a way to sell $1,000 version of it because we want you to speak at the event and want you to sell it. I was like, oh man, like, I'd kind of been burned out. I'd spent like probably 2 months trying every variation of ways to sell this, and I just hadn't had anything that had taken off yet. And so I sat down and I wrote a webinar pitch over a 2-day period of time. I flew out to his event and I gave it, and it exploded. I think I sold 38% of the room bought there, which for me was the highest close rate I'd ever had in an event. Came back the next weekend, did I think 3 or 4 of the webinars that week. We did about $500,000 that week in sales, and I was just like, oh man, it's on. And we started going and just doing webinar after webinar. We found out that people just need a little education on what it was, which the webinar was really good for us. Help them understand like how I use it. Because when they understood like, here's the funnel, like, okay, I get that, but like why? Like it was hard for people to grasp. Right? I showed in the webinar, like, this is what I do and how I do it and why I do it. And this is how easy it is that people, I think that was when the light bulbs went off. People said, this is it. And ever since then, it's just been growing like wildfire, like nothing I've ever been part of. It's been crazy.
So is it just coming down to finding the right kind of pre-frame bridge to get people across?
100%. Yep. Yeah. We had to educate them to get them. And by the way, I'm very impressed. You've been reading the book.
I have. It's a fantastic book.
I can tell by the reference. Yeah. So exactly what it was is we had the right pre-frame bridge to get people because like to be in ClickFunnels, you got to speak a language, right? Like what's the funnel? You got to understand that, and then people don't when they first come in. And so that webinar was a pre-frame bridge to get them so that we're on the same ground. And now I can speak to them in a way that makes sense. And that was kind of the goal of that. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, let's talk about a bit of the product. Anybody who follows me knows I'm a fan and a user. And you unveiled some pretty killer features that are coming up at your Funnel Hacking Live event. And, the audience of this podcast are all kind of marketing automation users as well. So maybe you could share a little bit about the Actionetics features that are coming up inside the products in the near future.
Definitely. So real quick, just so you know too, so Backpack's the other big feature, and it's actually next Wednesday, I believe, we're making it live to everybody in ClickFunnels. So that'll give everybody the ability to have their own affiliate platform inside of ClickFunnels, which is cool. And then Actionetics is a little further down the line. I think I told you earlier, like tomorrow, actually, in my beta account. So we did a run through today, and I saw the whole thing, and it's like the most insanely amazing thing ever created on planet Earth. And so I get mine tomorrow to start playing with it to see if I can break it. And then after I get done, then we open it up to a beta group, and then eventually it'll go live to everybody. But Actionetics is something we kind of went back and forth on, like, should we launch this? Should we not? Initially, like, our goal was just to be funnels, right? Like, we build funnels, we integrate with everything else. And so that was kind of the goal. And at first that was happening and people were doing it. But then they, use ClickFunnels. We have to have like 20 other programs to plug everything in. So eventually we started adding in like order forms through Stripe. And then people were like, oh, cool, I can do order forms now. And then we started adding a couple more things. And eventually people kept begging us like, why do I have to have Aweber? Why do I have to have this? Why do I have to have all these other things? Like, can you guys just do that? Can you do it in a better way? And we were really careful because we didn't want to do those things unless we could do it in a way that was simpler than any other solution out there and easier. Like that's kind of our whole philosophy with ClickFunnels. Like if we can't do it in an easy way, we don't do it. Like we need it. It needs to be something that people can use and adopt and people will fall in love with. And so that's kind of what we were trying to do. And so we spent a lot of time brainstorming and trying to figure out the right way to do it. And we've come up with a way that's amazing. So right now how in ClickFunnels you build out your funnels, right? Yep. So when Actionetics goes live, you can build out what we call action funnels, which are basically like your follow-up sequences. And so I can say, day 1, send out this email. Day 2, send out this text message. Day 3, if they didn't open the email on day 1, then send them this email. But if they did, then send them this email, right? A bunch of cool things like that. So that's kind of the initial architecture. Like in the simplest form, that's what it is. So just like the way you build out a funnel, the view looks very similar. So you have squeeze page, sales page, order form. Now you have message 1, number 2, and you build it out that, very similar format. And you click on it, it'll show you all the stats, all the numbers, everything that's happening on that marketing campaign, right? And again, we integrate with stuff. So it's not just email, text message, postcards, like we'll keep adding more and more things so you can make your marketing as complex and as cool as you want to. So that's kind of the basics of it.
Yeah. So in a nutshell, it's kind of like the automation features, the best of the automation features that you might find inside of ActiveCampaign or Infusionsoft or Entreport, building out those automated sequences. But you can do that straight within ClickFunnels without having to tie it to some other third-party automation platform. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's 2 really cool things that we're able to do that nobody else can do. And one of them is because we control the funnel. Like in Infusionsoft, you can tag people based on things, but it's super clunky. It doesn't work all the time. Like pixels don't fire, all sorts of stuff. We're here because we control the funnel. Like I can say when somebody gets to this spot in the funnel, or if they don't get to this spot, or if they see this page, or if they see this page X amount of times, I can change my marketing message. I can change the funnel. I can change things on the fly. So that's part of it. And the other part is that let me walk you kind of the end goal with Actionetics. So somebody comes and they join your list, right? And typically when someone joins your list, what do you know about them? The email address. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Based on the email address, there's so much data on that person publicly available that either for free or that we purchase. So ClickFunnels actually eats the cost of that. We go out there and we go and we buy all this data on that person. So someone joins your list in real time. We go out and we find out that email address, like how many followers on Facebook they have, how big is their Twitter following, how much money do they make, what magazines they read. Like we pull back all their social, all their demographic, all the information that's out there on the internet based on the email address. We pull back in real time. And suddenly, as soon as someone opts in, everything that's possible that we can know about that person, right? Now, based on that, you can do a whole bunch of cool things. Initially, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to change the follow-up sequences and say, okay, if this person makes more than $50,000 a year and has less than 25 Twitter followers, show them this email.
Yeah.
Or, anything you can dream of. If they've come to my page 3 times, have more than 50,000 Facebook fans, then send them this message or send them this postcard in the mail or have my assistant call them, or you can get anything you can dream of, you can kind of build out. And then the second phase of Actionetics will be where you can also customize the funnel on the fly. So somebody comes and they buy your free plus shipping or your tripwire product, and we'll know, hey, this person makes $50,000 a year. You're like, sweet, let's give them an upsell for $297. But this guy only makes $15,000 a year. Let's give him an upsell for $37. Like, you can change it based on who that person is, and that's kind of the second phase that'll happen with Actionetics, where the fly can be customized, or the funnel can be customized on the fly based on who that person is. And so it's pretty nuts. Like, I can't even tell you how this will affect my business, and based on that, I can assume it's going to affect everyone else's businesses the same way. And because it's all under one roof, we can do so much cool stuff. Every person that comes into your world, we assign them an action score based on a whole bunch of different elements. So you can see like what's the likelihood of how much money this person is actually worth to me. And so you can market to people differently based on action scores. Just a whole bunch of really cool things. So it's pretty exciting.
It's very, very cool, bordering on slightly creepy. I think it's kind of almost like the NSA's wet dream, you know? It's like, who is this guy? What has he done? Where does he live? How much does he make? And it also keeps all their order history as well, right? So you know that they've ordered, product ABC, so we don't want to market them that product anymore. Or
exactly.
And the next step in the value ladder is product, DEF or whatever. It's very, very cool stuff. Automation's a hard thing to get right, I think, especially straight off the gate. So any big lessons you guys have learned along the way there?
There's two sides of it, the development of it and then the actual application of it. So I'm blessed because, I get my account tomorrow, so I'm going to have a chance to start building things out. And so, I'm not sure exactly what those issues are going to be until I start doing it. I know that I think the biggest problem that I'm going to have, and I think most people, is that people are going to try to get too complicated sometimes.
Yeah.
I've got coaching students come to me and they explain to me their funnels and their processes and what email has happened here. And they're like, it's so complicated that and in theory it's amazing, but I think a lot of times, like, you can make more by not overcomplicating things and just getting more stuff out there than trying to get everything just perfect. I think the biggest fear I have for people that using a tool this powerful is that they're going to use it so granularly that they never get anything done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think a big part of it is step back and like what's the overarching goal of this, and let's do that. But yeah, don't be too creepy, I guess, is kind of a good one. Like you said, like don't send out 8,000 emails based on everything, but be smart about it. If you do it, with some of the testing that Todd and you guys have been doing last week, that's really cool that we're doing is, an email goes out, and then you can set up where, if everyone who didn't open it, resend that email a couple hours later, things like that, where you can really, like, it's just amazing how much more engagement you can get in a smart way that doesn't take so much custom work to do every single time. The other thing that's amazing that I think you'll love is that the emails, Dylan built the email editor. It's very similar to the ClickFunnels editor right now, but it's obviously more basic. But I look at everyone's emails that come through and they're all ugly. Like, everyone's emails are so bad. And now we'll be able to design emails that just look amazing because we've got the ClickFunnels editor inside your emails, which is just, I think, was going to increase engagement, increase just so many cool things. So yeah, I can't even sleep. I'm so excited.
Well, that's probably a bad sign that you and I are so excited about automation. But
we're such nerds. I love it.
I know. It's great. I got my little propeller hat on and everything. Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see how people use it. I think that temptation with any automation platform is, I'm going to build this giant 400-step automation that caters for every circumstance under the sun. And it just ends up being a nightmare. And I think the way to go is more, like you said, more smaller, simpler, but more kind of granular, modular type automations where, once they've gone through this one, then we'll put them into the next one over here or this one over there. It's pretty cool. So I'm really excited to see it. I'd love to get my hands on it and have a play. Just on a kind of a broader scale, what are your kind of plans for the product? From the outside looking in, it kind of looks like you're trying to make this thing an Infusionsoft killer. Is that a fair estimate?
Not like directly, but like we're trying to make it.
Please make it directly.
Yeah, it will be, but no. Our goal is not to go out and try to kill other people. In fact, I always tell people, like, lead pages and Infusionsoft and these other ones are like the best lead gen in the world for us. Like, people go and they sign up and they have a horrible experience, and then they come to us and it's so much easier because they've been educated and had a bad process. So for me, I don't want to kill those guys. They're great lead generation for us, but definitely, like, we want to have everything in one spot for entrepreneurs. I don't want I'm a big believer. Joe Vitale taught me this when I first got started. He said, money follows speed. Yeah. And I believe that. So if it takes me 3 months to build a funnel, I lost a ton of money. If it, like I did an interview with Trey Llewellyn yesterday, and their goal is to launch a new funnel every 7 days. And they're consistently doing it. And they're making so much money. And I think that's my goal is like, if we can simplify this process for entrepreneurs where you can have an idea, log into ClickFunnels, and it's done. You don't have to glue together 30 things and call people. Like that's our real vision. That's our real goal. And if it happens to kill other companies in the process, that's awesome. But that's not the goal. The goal is just to give entrepreneurs the ability to have something that works in one spot. And companies like Infusionsoft tried to do that. They keep trying to do that. They just haven't done it. And it's frustrating for everyone. And so if we can do it in a cool, easy, simple way that actually works, then everything else will just work out for everybody. So that's kind of the goal.
Yeah, maybe you should invite Infusionsoft to the next firework war. And
That'd be awesome.
It was really cool. It was really interesting at the event when you kind of displayed and the murmur in the crowd is like, oh, no, I don't need Infusionsoft anymore. This is going to be great.
And people said, does this mean we can cancel Infusionsoft? Yeah. Take it for what you believe. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So, the product's been going well. You're getting lots of users on board. Have you seen people do stuff with it that you're totally surprised with? Like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, all the time. It's cool. I saw this one dude. I saw this page and I was like, is that a ClickFunnels page? And I was like, it is. And it was this like free plus shipping something. It was some weird thing like in the prepper market. I don't remember what it was. I remember I ordered it. It was like some sticker with a snake on it or something. I don't even know. But I went to the page and I was like, it was so weird. And I clicked on it and things started like morphing and moving around and everything. And I went through a process and I showed Dylan, the guy who built the editor. And he's like, I didn't know that was even possible to do within the confines of what we built. And like, we're learning stuff like, wow, I can't believe that's even possible. I remember the first time I saw Garrett White's funnel, we've been doing high ticket stuff for years and we've got a process that works really, really good. And then he messaged in our support saying, hey, ClickFunnels is great. We love it or whatever. And support guy sent me a link to it. And I clicked on his link to look at his funnel. And it was like, there were similarities to what we had done in the past, but he taken it to a different level and done so many different things. And I spent like 2 hours and going through his funnel and just being like, wow, we all have the same tools, right? It's like ClickFunnels gives you a whole bunch of tools. You got hammers, you got the building blocks, everything you need, but you can really use your creativity to build anything. And he built this thing that was just like, I never would in a million years have built that process with these building blocks, but now I see it's there. Now I can model that and I can go do it. I think that's one of my favorite things too about the ClickFunnels community as a whole is that for the most part, people are really sharing. This is what I'm doing. This is my process. This is my funnel. In fact, here, share my funnel. Just click on this, allow the funnel to your account. And it's been such a cool community that I think everyone's built up that I love it. It's been exciting and it's been something that's been amazing for all of us. And every time I see a new page or new site, or I click on a Facebook ad and I go to a ClickFunnels page, I'm just like jumping up and down for joy. It's like so exciting.
Yeah, Garrett's funnel is really cool. I was actually going through it a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, and he does so well with that sales documentary type footage. I'm like, you watch it for like 10 minutes, like, yeah, I need that. I need to go on that.
I think every American man's like, I need that.
I need that. All right, cool. So if someone has never used ClickFunnels before, they haven't built a sales funnel for themselves before, what's the best way for them to get started?
I think the best thing is to get your ClickFunnels account, get in there, and first again, it's like walking into a shop, right? You got hammers, a bunch of building blocks. For me, the biggest thing is you got to find, and I know you know this, but I always talk about like funnel hacking. Like you got to find somebody else's sales funnel that you like, right? Like if you want to be in the weight loss industry, you got to go find Beachbody and find all these companies who are already successful and look what they're doing, and then you got to go buy their product and go see like what their funnel looks like. And that's the biggest key, is going out there and buying as many, in any market I go into, I try to find 5, 10, 15 competitors and I buy all their stuff so I can see what's actually working right now. Now I've got a blueprint, right? Now I can walk into that shop and I've got all the hammer and the bricks and the tools and stuff. And I've got a blueprint now of what I need to create. And the powerful thing about ClickFunnels is that you really can build almost anything. Like there are very few limitations. Like you can show me almost any website online. I can build something very similar to that inside of ClickFunnels. And so after you know that, it's just going out there, finding what you like, from that kind of creating a blueprint. Now come into ClickFunnels and learn the process of how to build it. And it takes, you can go take existing templates and edit them and do that pretty quick. Or if you spend, 30 minutes to an hour really learning how it works, you can build anything you can dream of. And I've just been shocked at like what I've been able to build. Like I've got no tech skills. I've got no design skills. I'm like, I've had programmers, designers working for me for 12 years because I couldn't do any of that kind of thing. And now like I do all my own pages. I did my own book launch funnel by myself. And I'm like, I should not be able to do this. Like this is not my skill set. And it turned out amazing, So I think that's really the biggest thing is going there with a blueprint of what you want to create. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of walking around, hammering nails and stuff, not really know what you're doing and not really have a purpose. And if you don't, then you're going to leave pretty quick.
Do the developers ever say, Russell, step away from the keyboard?
I know. They're so funny because now like I try to get them to like, hey, can you help me this real quick? And they're like, no, that's why we built ClickFunnels. So you can do it. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll learn it.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. And that funnel hacking 101 presentation that you did is I think that's a fantastic place for someone to start. I mean, like the real world example is if you ever moved into a new house, and you're trying to decorate a new house. And the first thing you do is you go grab a bunch of magazines and you go, I like this and I like this and this looks good. And then you kind of emulate what you see in other places. And it's exactly the same with funnel hacking. I think it's a fantastic idea. All right, Russell, I appreciate you coming on. I want to respect your time here. So thank you so much for sharing your time with the listeners today. And obviously the best place they can reach out to you is funnelhacking.com. But you got a couple of podcasts that are really great as well. And you want to tell people about that?
Yeah, definitely. If you go to funnelhacker.tv, you'll see each week I do a video of me funnel hacking somebody, which is fun. And then marketinginyourcar.com is my other podcast, which is my rants every morning when I'm driving to the office. They're like 5 minutes long and they're really fun. So those are my two podcasts.
Yeah, they're fantastic. So thanks again, Russell. I really appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you in Boise in August.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Russell. Well, I'd like to thank Russell for coming on the show, and I'd like to thank you guys for stopping by and downloading and listening. Really appreciate all the feedback that I get, and I'd love it if you could join us over on our private Facebook group called Automation Nation. If you just go to Facebook and search for Automation Nation, you'll find us. We exchange tips, tactics, automations, all that kind of good stuff inside there. So if you want to take your automation skills to the next level, get in there and share with the rest of the group. Lots of great tips and tactics flying around in there. Again, head over to Facebook and search for Automation Nation. I'd like to thank Russell once again for stopping by. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands on the Actionetics features inside ClickFunnels. If you haven't had a try of ClickFunnels, I'd urge you to do so. It's really a great piece of software. If you head over to the show notes, theactivemarketer.com/Russell, I will have a pre-done funnel there waiting for you. All you need to do is click on it. It will install the funnel from my account into your account. If you don't have a ClickFunnels account, you'll be able to set up a trial account straight away and a completely done opt-in funnel all ready to go for you. And I'll also have some notes there on how you could integrate that with your own active campaign setup or any other kind of autoresponder marketing automation platform setup. So head over to the show notes, theactivemarketer.com/Russell. Get your free funnel there. It'll just magically appear inside your account. Another great feature of ClickFunnels. So thank you so much for stopping by. Looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. In the meantime, get out there and design, automate, and scale your business to the next level using sales and marketing automation. See you, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Active Marketer Podcast. You can find the show notes and all the latest marketing automation news over at theactivemarketer.com.